So he's got a high bar, but he's got to go for it. And maybe the psychology in his mind will flip a little bit, as Andrea Stella alluded to after the race, that now that it's not close, he's got the kind of freedom to go for it, and maybe we'll see him improve because of that.
Callum, actually, going back to, let's go back to 2021 if you want, and the way that it was kind of ebbing and flowing between Max and Lewis. I mean, Max is one of those characters. It doesn't seem like anything phases him, and a different kind of character to Lando, as we know, who kind of wears his heart on his sleeve, and sometimes, you know, he's talked himself down in the past. But you thought with 3 wins in the last 4 coming into Holland that he might have arrested, you know, that kind of, you know, that mindset, got on top of all of his issues. Do you believe that? I mean, the freedom now that he might have, is there a pressure off? What did you say to Max, or what did the bosses say to Max, or did they need to say anything?
I mean, look, the first thing is, I think with that 2021 season, nobody needed to say anything. You know, everybody knew what the stakes were from pretty much race 2. We knew where we were at, and we knew what was gonna sort of transpire. You know, with Lando, I think it's one of those things, and I know that there's been plenty in the past sort of spoken about Lando wearing his heart on his sleeve, and sort of, and a lot of people have alluded it to being sort of some sort of weakness, you know, and I've never sort of seen it that way. I think actually that kind of self-awareness can be such a huge strength, you know, provided you know how to deal with that emotional management, you know, and I think, yeah, this will be a test of Lando now. You know, it will be about, you know, emotional management and just sort of, like you say, digging deep. And like we talked about Lewis in 2014, going on to win those next races, that's exactly what he needs. I think obviously the big problem for that is it is also really hard to see Oscar making many mistakes. You know, I think, you know, Jacques, as you alluded to, drivers in general, they don't crash as much and we don't have failures and stuff. But when you look at where those points to settle that difference might come from, it's really hard to see that many of those points are going to come from Oscar Piastri mistakes. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest hurdle, you know, for Lando, is sort of being able to deal with the fact that, yes, I'm sure that he can find something else in him to step his game up, but it's about what your teammate does. And it's really hard to see that sort of changing on Oscar's side.
We talked about it, didn't we, Jacques, in the build-up to that race, and how we were saying it's like a game of tennis. It's you know, Wimbledon final. It is penalties in the World Cup. It is that kind of mano a mano. And now that it's not as tight as it was, will that free Lando up? We know he was quick all weekend until Q3, and then Oscar took control of it, as he so often does.
Well, he was quick too early, and he showed his game. He showed his hand. That wasn't very good poker playing the whole weekend, because then it just took that one quali lap, 12 hundredths of a second, and that changed. Ultimately, it wouldn't have, because he blew his engine, but it would, that 12 thousandth of a second meant the race win. So you have to be careful with that. The shift, the mind shift, will happen for both drivers, because we've seen so many drivers with a huge lead lose it all and lose the championship. That's happened year after year after year. It puts even Piastri in a different position, because it puts a new kind of pressure on his shoulders. Now he's in his mind is the tiniest of mistake and I lose this championship, and maybe he won't drive as serene as he has been for now. So pressure can be good. Lack of pressure can create a really negative spiral, and it's often risky to have a big lead, unless you have a big lead and you know that there's no position. That's different. But he knows he has a position. He knows that Lando always bounces back.
It's amazing that one of these two could be life-changing. We've said that. Once you're a world champion, as you know, Jacques, you can walk into any room, can't you? And you've got the red lanyard. So just to come back to you, I mean, that's the thing. Oscar's not going to give this one away from here, is he? How does the team respond? I mean, how are they going to be feeling about this? Just to come back to you on this one, because you could see Zach and Andrea kind of head in hands ultimately.
5 winners and 5 losers from the Netherlands, who started the second half of the season in style. Oscar Piastri extended his championship lead with victory in the Dutch Grand Prix, but who else left the Netherlands happy after F1 returned in Zandvoort? McLaren endured the extremes of human emotion at Zandvoort on Sunday, as one of their drivers excelled, while the other suffered the pain of a shock retirement in a chaotic Dutch Grand Prix. Lawrence Barretto picks out his winners and losers from the first race after the summer break. Winner, Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri's hopes of winning a maiden Formula One World Championship in only his third campaign took a big boost in Zandvoort as he converted a superb pole, his 5th of the season, and 7th win in 2025. The Australian was outpaced by his teammate through practice, but delivered when it mattered in qualifying and managed all the drama in the race, which included multiple restarts, to perfection. His 9th career victory ties his manager and former Red Bull racer Mark Webber's total, while it was also the first time his led from start to finish in Formula One. That success was compounded by a mechanical failure for his McLaren teammate Lando Norris, with the Australian moving 34 points clear in their near-private fight for this year's title. Loser, Lando Norris got up to speed around Zandvoort much quicker than his teammate Piastri, with the Briton coming out on top in all 3 practice sessions. But he couldn't convert that performance into pole position, which left him with a mountain to climb on Sunday given the difficulties of overtaking on the narrow Dutch track. The Briton gave it a good go, reclaiming second from reigning world champion Max Verstappen, before setting off in pursuit of Piastri. But he never got close enough to launch a proper attack, and then saw his challenge extinguished when he smelt smoke that highlighted the issue that forced his retirement. That's his first DNF since Canada, and means the momentum is firmly with his teammate with 9 Grand Prix weekends to go. Winner, Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar's sensational rookie season reached new heights in Zandvoort as he recovered from, in his words, a disaster of a Friday to secure a career-best 4th on the grid. The Frenchman then comfortably ran 4th, despite being ahead of faster cars, and then rode his luck when Norris retired to take a brilliant podium in only his 15th Grand Prix. The Racing Bulls driver becomes the 5th youngest podium finisher of all time, behind Verstappen, Lance Stroll, Kimi Antonelli and Norris, and is the youngest Frenchman to ever stand on a Formula One rostrum. The huge points haul catapults him into the top 10 in the driver standings, while Racing Bulls close the gap to Williams to 20 points in the fight for P5 in the team's championship. Loser, Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson was on course to make it a double points finish for Racing Bulls after another top 10 start, but a collision with Williams' Carlos Sainz instantly ended any hopes of adding to his tally. The New Zealander was the only Red Bull stable car not to score points on Sunday, with Verstappen second and Yuki Tsunoda ending a 7-race streak without points. It also ended his run of 2 Grands Prix in the points, and now leaves him 17 points behind Racing Bull's teammate Hadjar. Winner, Alex Albon. Alex Albon was irritated after getting booted out of qualifying, having had his outlap compromised by queuing in the pit lane to end up 15th. But his mood improved dramatically on Sunday with a stellar performance that began with him rising up 5 places at the start to run 10th. Amid the chaos around him, the Briton kept his nose clean and raced well to rise up to 5th and ensure Williams scored well enough to keep their grip on P5 in the team's championship. His 10th points finish of the season is his most in a single campaign since joining Williams in 2022, and moves him level with Mercedes' Kimi Antonelli in the Drivers' Championship. Loser, Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz rarely gets annoyed on team radio, but he was furious with the steward's decision to hand him a 10-second time penalty for colliding with Lawson when trying to pass his rival around the outside. It ruined a weekend that had been bright to start with for Sainz, with the Spaniard out-qualifying his teammate Albon to line up 9th for his first Q3 appearance since Imola way back in May. He was in great shape to finish 5th, but the collision with Lawson forced a pit stop for new tyres and a new nose, which dropped him to the back of the field and out of contention for points. That extends his pointless run in Grands Prix to 5, though he did score in that period courtesy of a strong drive to 6th in the Belgian sprint. Winner, Ollie Bearman. Ollie Bearman has driven well this season, but all too often left race weekends empty-handed. He finished 11th 4 times in a row from Canada. His chances of adding to that tally looked bleak when he qualified badly before opting to start from the pit lane after changing a host of engine components. But in running a long opening stint and then pitting under the safety car on lap 54 of 72, he used fresh tyres to pass Fernando Alonso, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Pierre Gasly, and rise up to 8th, which became 6th courtesy of Norris DNF and